Advaitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Nutamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhano Shute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama
Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama Rama Rama Hare
Hare Krishna. We'd like to welcome all of you all to today's satsang program. So today I'm going to be doing um, a some kind of a jugalbandi between Mahabharata and Ramayana. So we'll be analyzing these two great epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata. So initially I'll help you understand um, the difference between the two in terms of the mood and the purpose, and then we'll get into the specifics of certain stories from the Ramayana and Mahabharata and learn from both of them. The Ramayana and the Mahabharata are the two greatest epics ever written in human society. The Ramayana teaches us what is the ideal standard, and the Mahabharata teaches us what is the real standard. The Ramayana teaches us what we are supposed to be, and the Mahabharata teaches us what we are. When people study the Ramayana or hear the Ramayana, they say, impossible. We can't be like this. We can't be this good. In the Ramayana, everyone is making sacrifices. Ram is making sacrifice, Dashrath is making sacrifice, Bharat is making sacrifice, Lakshman is making sacrifice, Sita is making sacrifice. Everyone is making sacrifice. And when we hear a story like this, we become depressed. He said, I can't live like this. Who will make so many sacrifices? But Mahabharata makes more sense. Because everybody is fighting Mahabharata. Everybody is stealing from each other. Brothers are fighting against brothers. And nobody is ready to give up. That sounds more like us, isn't it? So why should we study Ramayana and Mahabharata? The reason we should study Ramayana and Mahabharata is to help us understand where we are or where we need to go. Right now we are at Mahabharata level and we need to go towards Ramayana level. Right now we are fighting with one another and we need to go to the Ramayana level where brothers are fighting not with one another but for one another. So if we study the Ramayana and Mahabharata, both have fights between brothers. But the difference is that in the Ramayana, when Bharat and Ram are fighting with each other, they are not fighting about right and wrong. In the Mahabharata, if you see, it's all about right and wrong, right? In the Ramayana, when the brothers fight, Ram and Bharat fight, their fight is not about right and wrong. Their fight is about what is right and what is more right. The Ramayana is a very ideal standard which human society is meant to look at and feel, wow, that's what the Ramayana is supposed to be. I mean, we may never reach there, but imagine if we didn't have such a high ideal, then human society would not have had a standard of what it means to be a good human being. So Ram set a standard so high that we will never reach there, but at least we will aspire to go towards that. Have you ever wondered in people's houses why do they put photos of the whole family, husband, wife, two kids, all smiling nicely, wearing good clothes? Why do you think people put photos like that on the wall? It is to remind themselves that this is what we want to reach to. You think the reality of the house is like that? When you go into somebody's house, you think people are all well dressed and and really smiling and having very, very cordial, beautiful relationships? Not at all. Inside houses, if you go, and especially when you don't inform and go, you will find some of the most horrifying and so most ghastly situations. People dressed in the most craziest of ways. So why do you put that photo on the wall? Just to remind ourselves that we want to reach that standard. That's Ramayana. So the photo on the wall is not the reality. The reality is Mahabharata, fighting with him. But the photo on the wall is a reminder that we want to reach there someday. So Ramayana is a standard that we all have to aspire for. Someday we should reach Ramayana standard. In the meanwhile, our standard is Mahabharata. In a sense, um, have you seen a X-ray of the chest? Your own X-ray of the chest. It's a very scary picture, isn't it? If you see your own chest X-ray, you get scared. This is me. But do you ever find people putting their chest X-ray on the wall? My inside picture. We don't find people putting the chest X-ray on the wall. Four photos, four chest X-rays. Husband, wife, two kids. You'll put always good photo on the wall, isn't it? So these two stories are aspirational in nature. The Mahabharata teaches us how to deal with difficulties in life and how to continue living life amidst difficulties, amidst trauma, amidst backbiting, amidst people letting you down, amidst so much of chaos. You'll find both in the Ramayana and Mahabharata there are two things: palaces and forests. So the Pandavas lived in palace for some time. They lived in the forest for a long time. Ram lived in the palace for some time. He lived in the forest for a long time. What do you think these palaces and forests represent? Palaces represent comforts, luxuries, safety, security, wealth, opulence, power, control. Forest represents uncertainty, danger, unpredictability, no control, chaos, no comforts, no luxuries, no power. Those who live only in the palaces and never experienced a forest are not flexible. So if you look at in the Mahabharata, Duryodhan never lived in the forest, and therefore he was so unflexible, so rigid on what he wants. The Pandavas lived half their life in the forest only. They were born also in the forest. And practically till 13, they turned 13 years old, they lived in the forest. And then after that also, exile, they spent such a long period of time. So because they spent so much time in the forest, they became more qualified than the Kauravas. Because those who spend time in the forest, they actually become tough. They don't fear anything. Because in the forest, you can't survive if you have fear, isn't it? And you become flexible. You can't be rigid anymore. You can't say, I will not sleep unless I get a bed. Don't sleep. You won't get a bed. That's how forest is. You can't say, unless I get a pizza, I won't eat. Don't eat. You won't get anything. So basically, the forest represents a lot of uncertainty. And in the forest, three types of people live. Animals live in the forest, sages live in the forest, and demons live in the forest. Animals go by instinct. They feel hungry, they go and eat somebody who is next to them. So animals just completely go on instincts, basically. Once they are full, they don't eat anymore. They're done for the day. Even if there is a another animal close by, they don't touch because they only eat as per the need. Demons, on the other hand, who live in the forest, there is no upper end how much they can stop, they can eat. They keep eating all the time. They have so much hunger, so much greed, keep grabbing, keep stealing, keep killing. Because it's not about their belly, it's about their desires. They have unlimited desire. So animals, they only act on instincts, they don't have choices. But demons, they have all the choices they want, and they act out of greed and desire. And in the forest, there is a third type of personalities. They are the sages. The sages live in the forest, but they have conquered hunger. Imagine if you get a vardhan that you will not be hungry ever. Will you go to work? Will you do anything in life if you don't have any hunger? Whatever we do in life is based because of hunger, right? Because we need our next meal, because we need to eat, we need to maintain ourselves. That's why we do whatever we do. Look at the sages. They've decided to conquer the most difficult thing in life, hunger. And because they have conquered hunger, all other needs of theirs gets automatically taken care of. They are extremely peaceful people. In the middle of a forest, there is no fear. In the middle of a forest, there is no desire. There is no need. There is no, any kind of unpredictability in their lives. So why do human beings go to forest randomly? Why do human beings go to the forest? They go to the forest, like, I'm sure you must have heard of kings who go on hunting expeditions, right? They live in palaces, but time to time they go to the forest. You think randomly they go? There's a logic, there's a science behind it. Because when they leave their palaces and go to the forest, they get an experience of the real world. The real world is like a jungle, it's like a forest. The real world is an unpredictable world. The real world is a chaotic world. So if you're always living in your palace and you're not used to the forest, when someday you're going to be pushed into the forest, you're going to be pushed into exile, you will not be prepared for it. And therefore, in the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, we find time to time, these people went to the forest to practice living in the forest. Symbolically, there is a lot that Ramayana and Mahabharata teaches through stories. Apparently, it seems that Ramayana and Mahabharata are Nice stories for kids to hear. We all have this um, wrong notion that Ramayana and Mahabharata are wonderful stories for children to hear. Actually, Ramayana and Mahabharata are the biggest self-help books ever written in the history of mankind. Every single problem that you face across your life, every single problem, you'll find solutions in the Ramayana and Mahabharata. Everything you can think of, the answers are there in the Ramayana and Mahabharata through stories. These stories are codified. They're put in some very complicated codes which you can't understand easily. And because you can't understand it, you don't know how to use it. So what I've been trying to do is trying to extract these stories from our scriptures and present them in a way that you can apply in your life. So now I'm going to tell you all some stories from the Ramayana and from the Mahabharata. Fascinating stories. But each of these stories teach us some really powerful lessons for our lives. And each of these stories will actually inspire us to look at the Ramayana and Mahabharata in a totally different light. Get a watch here. What's the time now? Okay. Okay. So I'm going to share with you all one story which is, I'm sure you must have never heard of this story. It's in the Mahabharata. This is a story of a Brahmin named Gautam. This story is told by Bhishma to Yudhishthir. This is a section of Mahabharata known as Bhishma Parva. So this Brahmin named Gautam, he was traveling around. He used to live by begging from door to door. And one particular day, while he was traveling around, he reached a village. And in that village, he knocked on the door of um, one house. He had no idea that this entire village is a village of thieves and dacoits. Every house in that village, everyone was a thief and a dacoit. They would go together and loot other people's houses, basically, other villages. So he knocked on the door of the chief of that dacoits. So this man saw this beggar Brahmana, and the chief of dacoits said, "Why are you begging? Come and join us. We'll give you a nice house. We'll give you a nice work, and we'll get you married also." This Brahmana said, "Okay, fine." And he started staying with them. And he became a total dacoit, killing people, eating flesh. And he got married to a woman from that community itself, completely lost track of his Brahminical life. And he continued living like this for many years. Until one day, another Brahmana came to his house. And this particular Brahmana was from the same village as Gautam. So he told him, he looked at him and said, "What is wrong with you? What have you done to yourself? Why are you doing like this?" So Gautam felt a little bad. He said, "What to do? I have to fend for my family, I have to take care of my stomach." The Brahmana said, "There are better ways to taking care of your stomach. You can't do like this." Gautam said, "Fine. I'll stop all these bad things. I'll go and find a lot of money. And once I come back, I will not do any of these things." So Gautam set out on a journey to find a lot of money. So he doesn't have to do all these wrong things. In his journey, he traveled for many, many days. And he reached a particular place where there was a huge banyan tree. And Gautam sat under the banyan tree just to rest and catch up his breath. And as he sat there under the banyan tree, there was a huge crane, a very divine looking crane, which had a beautiful garland around its neck that came in front of Gautam and welcomed Gautam. He said, "My name is Rajavarman. and I am the king of cranes, and I am a friend of Lord Brahma, and you are my guest. So, since you have come here, I will do everything possible to make you happy because you are my guest. So, the crane Rajavarman asked him, tell me what you want. And this man said, I've come seeking wealth. I'm trying to find a lot of money so that I don't have to do any sinful activities. Rajavarman said, that's it. From here, a few miles away, is the kingdom of my friend. And this is a king of Rakshasas. Go to the king and tell him my name, and he'll give you as much money as you need. So this man Gautam became very happy, enthusiastically went to the king of Rakshasas. And the king of Rakshasas heard Rajavarman's name, immediately opened the treasury, and he said, take whatever you want. This Gautam went inside, filled a whole sack filled with gold and diamonds and all kinds of jewels. And he picked up that sack and he left back. On his way home, he stopped again under this tree and met this Rajavarman again. Rajavarman asked him, are you happy now? He said, yes, yes, I've got enough money for my life now. I don't have to work and do all bad things. And Rajavarman said, please rest for tonight here and next day you can go home. This man, he stayed there, but while he stayed there, he had a thought. He was thinking, I have a long way to go to reach my house. And by the time I reach my house, I don't know whether I'll get any food to eat or not. So he said, better I make some arrangements for my food for my travel. And he killed this bird, Rajavarman. And he took the meat of this bird for his travel. In the meanwhile, this king of Rakshasas, he realized for 2 days his friend had not come to meet him. Rajavarman would come, he would go to Brahmalok every day. And on his way back, he would stop at the king of Rakshasas' house, meet him, and then come back to his house. So when the king saw that his friend had not come, he realized something has gone wrong. And he somehow intuitively felt that this guy Gautam must be the cause of it. And he sent his people to chase and find Gautam. They came to the bird's house, they found the bird is missing, but they found a lot of feathers there. And they began to chase Gautam and they tracked him down. And with him, they found the meat of this Rajavarman. They brought him back to the king's palace. And the king said, what kind of a person are you? This person is your friend. He helped you. And you have killed him only. The king of Rakshasas was so upset, so unhappy. He told all the Rakshasas, kill this fellow and eat him up. The Rakshasas told him that we will not touch him. The king said, throw him in the forest. Let the cannibals in the forest eat him up. They threw him in the forest. When the cannibals in the forest heard the story, they said, we eat all kinds of meat. We eat all kinds of human beings. But the only type of human beings we won't touch is an ungrateful person. We will not touch the body of an ungrateful person. We reject him. Even the cannibals refused to eat him up. And the king realized that this person is so ungrateful that nobody wants to even touch him. The king chopped him into pieces, and they they were going to, and then they took the meat of this Rajavarman, and they decided to give him a funeral pyre. Just when the funeral of this particular crane was happening, Indra appears over there, and he pours celestial amrit into the fire, and this Rajavarman comes back to life. He gets his life back again. And Rajavarman hears the whole story of what just happened. And when he hears that this Gautam is killed because of what he had done to him, Rajavarman told Indra, can you please pour nectar on Gautam and revive him also? The king of Rakshasa was surprised. Indra was surprised. He said, what? This guy has done so much harm to you. He killed you. He was so ungrateful to you as a friend, and you still want to revive him. He said, what he has done is according to his nature. But if I also behave like him, what is the difference between me and him? So he said, I will never harm my friend and wish any harm to my friend. And he told Indra, please revive him. And Indra revived Gautam. And then Gautam realized his mistake and he was feeling so repentant that he let down such a great friend. This story is told by Bhishma to Yudhishthira Maharaj, and the story emphasizes the importance of gratitude towards people that have done something for us. The Ramayana talks about gratitude in a very interesting way. When Mother Sita and Lord Ram were being coronated as a king and queen of Ayodhya, during the coronation ceremony, there was a festival going on, music, dance, and so many things. Right in the middle of the coronation ceremony, Sita started crying tears. Ram asked her, what happened? Why are you crying? And Sita tells Ram that, my dear Ram, during the festival, while the celebration was happening, there was someone threw red color powder in the air. And immediately I remembered the sacrifice of Jatayu. So when Ravan was kidnapping Sita, Jatayu tried to come and stop him. And during the process of trying to stop him, Ravan obviously cut off the wings of Jatayu. When Jatayu was falling off, the blood of Jatayu splashed all over. And when this red color powder was thrown in the air, Sita remembered the blood of Jatayu and the sacrifice of Jatayu. And she started crying tears. When you're very successful in life, what do you remember or who do you remember? Most of the times when you're very successful in life, we only remember ourselves. But behind our success, there is always sacrifice of a lot of people. Our parents, our friends, our teachers, our families. So many people would have made sacrifices for us to reach any level of success. But unfortunately, we forget to acknowledge all those sacrifices and we're busy celebrating our own success. And here is Sita, in the peak of her success, remembering the sacrifice of Jatayu. This idea of victory and loss is very powerfully described in the Ramayana and Mahabharata in so many different ways. Many times, when we think that we have won, actually we have lost. And when we think we have lost, we have actually won. For example, um, in the Ramayana, there is this story of Ravan killing Jatayu, which I just mentioned. But most people interpret the story in the way that Ravan won and Jatayu lost. But the Acharya explained there is a deeper significance behind this story, which shows exactly the opposite. It is explained that when Ravan was kidnapping Sita, he consulted astrology to figure out what is the best time to kidnap her. Imagine what a high tech kidnapping this is. He found out that there's a particular muhurta astrologically which is the best time to kidnap. Interesting, isn't it? It's called the Vinda Muhurta. So if you lose something in Vinda Muhurta, you will not get it back. If you lose your iPhone in Vinda Muhurta, you can forget it. You will not get it back. So anything that you lose during Vinda Muhurta is gone. So Ravan planned the kidnapping in such a way that he lifted Sita during the Vinda Muhurta. He had a perfect plan. He didn't want to return Sita ever back again. So he thought if he kidnaps her and win the Muhurta, Ram will never get her back. So that's when Jatayu comes in and fights against Ravan. And Jatayu knew right from the beginning that there is no chance of him winning against Ravan. In fact, Sita told him, don't come. Don't even try. Sita told him, just give him the message, give Ram the message that I have been kidnapped. But in spite of that, Jatayu tried. And Jatayu kept fighting with Ravan for a period of 48 minutes. 48 minutes is one muhurta. And by the time 48 minutes, one muhurta got over, the muhurta changed from Vinda muhurta to Punarvasu muhurta. And in Punarvasu muhurta, if you lose something, you get it back. So Jatayu simply fought till the muhurta changed. And then he stopped fighting. So Ravan thought he won. He killed Jatayu. But he forgot totally that his calculation went wrong. He kidnapped Sita in the wrong muhurta. So now, who won, who lost? The scriptures help us understand that behind everything that happens in our life, there are many ways of looking at it. So, whatever we see in our own lives, there are several ways of looking at the same thing. These are known as perspectives. Even behind what happens between us in terms of relationships, there are so many ways of looking at the same thing. I'm going to tell you all a fantastic story from the Mahabharata that will help you understand this whole concept of perspectives. During the Mahabharata war, there was a particular point in time during the Mahabharata war where Yudhishthir was defeated very badly by Karna. Karna not only hurt him, injured him, but also insulted him very badly. Yudhishthira Maharaj obviously had to return back to his camp right in the middle of the war to save his own life. Yudhishthira was extremely upset and extremely angry. Not just he was injured physically, but he was brutally wounded emotionally. And Yudhishthira expected that Arjun will take revenge and kill Karna. In the meanwhile, Krishna and Arjun, when they came to know that Yudhishthira is injured and he returned back, Arjun told Krishna, let us go back and see how is my brother. So they both returned back to the camp and they entered Yudhishthira Maharaj's tent. The moment they entered, Yudhishthira saw Arjun and he asked him, have you killed Karna? He didn't ask him any other question. Straight away, have you killed Karna? Because his expectation was Arjun will come only after he has killed Karna. Arjun said, I'm sorry, I came to see if you're alright. Yudhishthira lost it. He got so upset. He got so upset that he started talking all kinds of obnoxious words. Expectation is the cause of all misery. It's a seed of all misery. When you expect something from someone and that person doesn't do it, that's it. You get really wild. And this is not some ordinary person, this is Yudhishthir. Imagine if Yudhishthir is behaving like this, what to speak of you and me? Yudhishthir tells Arjun, I should not have expected anything from you. I should have expected probably something from Bhima. Or probably even Nakul Sahadev would have done something. But I made a big mistake by expecting something from you. And he said, you are a blot to our family. He said, you should not have born only in our family. In fact, our mother should have aborted you when you were 3 months in her womb. And he said, you talk big things about your Gandiva bow. That Gandiva bow is nothing but a piece of stick. Throw it into the fire. When some stranger insults us, it doesn't pain so much. When the person that we love the most insults us, that's when the pain is most, isn't it? The most amazing thing is the closest people to our hearts, they only know how to insult us in the worst possible way. They know exactly what hurts, isn't it? Imagine if all your weaknesses are known within the family, isn't it? So the family members know exactly what to speak that will agitate you like crazy. Yudhishthir spoke words like this, and Arjun lost it. Arjun took out his sword and he was running to Yudhishthir to kill him. Krishna said, "Hey, what's going on here? You came to see if he's alright. Why are you going to kill him now?" Arjun said, "I have taken a vow. Anybody who tells me to throw my Gandiva, I'll kill that person." So imagine, such a situation. So Krishna, he intervenes. He realizes that if he doesn't do anything, these two people are going to destroy each other. So Krishna tells Arjun that there is a way to kill him without killing him. So he said, according to the scriptures, when a younger person insults an older person, it is as good as killing him. So Arjun told him, Krishna told Arjun, insult Yudhishthir. And then Arjun begins to insult him. Arjun says, all our problems in life happened because of you only. If you didn't have addiction to gambling, we would have been so happy in life. Yeah. He goes on and on, abusing Yudhishthir like anything. And finally, after telling him, sometimes you wait when you get a chance, you speak everything that you always wanted to speak. Yudhishthir was bewildered when he heard that. And after that, Arjun, he took the sword out and he was going to cut his own head. Krishna said, now what? Arjun said, after insulting my brother like this, how can I live? I can't live, I want to die. Krishna said, don't worry, there is a way to commit suicide without committing suicide. Krishna said, according to the scriptures, if someone praises themselves, it is as good as committing suicide. All social media accounts are suicide attempts, basically. Everyone is committing suicide on a daily basis. And then Arjun begins to praise himself. He says, I have defeated Indra, I have defeated Shiva, I have done this, I have done. He goes on and on, talking about all the achievements that he has done in his life. And finally, Arjuna and Yudhishthira both fall at Krishna's feet and they thank him for being there in their lives. And at that time, Krishna tells them two stories. And these two stories are fantastic stories about the concept of right and wrong, about the concept of perspectives. Krishna tells Arjun and Yudhishthir, he said there was a hunter named Valaka. So this hunter was once hunting in a jungle. And while he was hunting, he shot an animal and the animal died. And after the animal was shot down, the hunter realized it was a blind animal. It didn't have eyes. According to hunting profession, hunters are not supposed to hunt blind animals. It is considered to be against the dharma of hunting, basically. Why? Because the blind animal can't defend itself, isn't it? It can't run away. It can't do anything for itself. So the hunter was feeling so bad that he killed a blind animal and he was really repenting. At that time, the sages in the jungle told him, don't worry, you did the right thing. Because this is not an animal, it's a demon who is disguised as an animal. So it was actually a Rakshasa who taken the form of this animal. So he said, this rule doesn't apply to Rakshasas, killing Rakshasas. So Krishna told Arjuna and Yudhishthir that sometimes what you think is wrong is actually right. Sometimes when we say that this is wrong, it's a matter of perspective. If you look at it a little differently, it's actually right. So Yudhishthir looked at Arjun from a particular point of view, and Arjun looked at Yudhishthir from a particular point of view. Simply, we change the perspective of looking, the whole thing looks different. And then Krishna gave another very interesting story of a sage named Kaushika. So one time, this sage named Kaushika, he was sitting and meditating. So this sage had taken a vow of lifelong speaking the truth, only speaking truth. He'll never speak a lie. So one day, while he was meditating, a man came running. He was in a lot of anxiety, and he told the sage Kaushika, "I'm hiding inside an ashram. There are some people chasing me. They want to kill me. Please don't tell them I'm here." He went and hid inside. Then after that, some dacoits came searching for this man, and they asked the sage, "Where is this person? Did you see him?" The sage was thinking, "Should I tell the lie or should I tell the truth?" He's taken a vow, lifelong telling the truth. And if I tell the truth, this fellow will die. But if I don't tell the truth, then my lifelong vow will get broken. He thought a little bit and he pointed out where that fellow was. These guys went and chopped him and killed him. And Krishna tells this story to Yudhishthira and Arjuna and tells him that sometimes when you speak the truth, when you think that you're right, you're actually wrong. In life, all of us, we always think that what I am thinking is right and what others are thinking is wrong. But it's not necessarily the truth. That's not exactly how life works. Because from everyone's perspective, the truth is different. From everyone's perspective, the way we look at right and wrong is different, isn't it? And therefore, unless and until we actually understand the other person's perspective, you can't come to conclusions of what is right and what is wrong. Because every person's perspective is different and every person's situation is different. And therefore, the truth and the right, it varies according to the perspective. One time, Sita saw Ram taking a vow in front of the sages of Dandakaranya, this big group of sages. And in front of the sages, Ram took a vow that I will eliminate all the demons in this jungle. The moment Ram said like that, Sita felt a little bad. Sita started thinking that we have taken vows of being ascetics. And how come Ram is taking such a vow of killing so many demons? So she decided to confront Ram and ask him this. She waited for an opportunity when she's alone with Ram. And she tells Ram, "My dear Ram, we're supposed to be living in the forest as ascetics. We're wearing the clothes of ascetics. But by carrying the bow and arrow around, you are going to misuse it in some way or the other." She said, "Why don't we give up this bow?" And she tells a story. She says, many years back, there was a sage who was very, very powerful. And the sage became so powerful by his tapasya that Indra became insecure. So Indra comes down to the ashram of the sage and he meets the sage. And he tells the sage that I have to answer nature's call. Can you please hold my sword till I come back? Indra says the sword is a very divine sword, so I can't keep it on the ground. So please just hold it for me. So the sage is holding the sword. Indra goes, it doesn't come back only. The sage is holding the sword for half an hour, thinking, what will I do with this sword? He sees a log of wood over there. He hits it and it splits into two. The sage is amazed by the power of the sword. He goes out, cuts a tree. The entire tree collapses with one slash. The sage is amazed by the power in his hand. He goes, and chops off the head of a tiger and he cuts the head of an elephant. And suddenly the sage realizes that I have got a superpower in my hand. And eventually, this sage becomes a massive dacoit and completely loses his path. Sita tells this story to Ram and she tells him, if you also roam around with a bow like this, you will also become like this sage. Imagine Sita giving such a feedback to Ram. And then Ram listens to her carefully. And then Ram replies. He says, this bow is not meant for harming innocent people. This bow is meant for protecting the weak. And he said, so Ram says, we have dressed as ascetics, but we are not ascetics. We are always Kshatriyas. And the role of a Kshatriya is to protect the innocent. And no matter where I am, whether I have a position, I don't have a position, whether I have kingship, I don't have kingship, my role of a Kshatriya will not change. And he says, I've taken a vow to protect the innocent, and that will never change no matter where I am. When Sita hears the perspective of Ram, then she understands. It's very interesting that even at that level of Sita and Ram, there is an opportunity for discussions. There is an opportunity for feedback. There is an opportunity for sharing your heart. A lot of people feel that Sita never gave feedback to Ram. Here is one story where she actually chastises Ram and gives him a feedback. But she also has the capacity to hear and answer and understand another perspective. These small little stories are very powerful ways to learn deeper aspects of life. The Ramayana and the Mahabharata have such powerful stories. Each one of them are so powerful, and each one of them can shift our perspective of life. So I highly recommend all of y'all to spend time and understand these scriptures. Spend time and absorb ourselves in the teachings of these scriptures. The most amazing thing is that all the scriptures practically teach us so much. The Ramayana teaches us the art of leading, how to lead in this world. The Mahabharata teaches us the art of living, how to live during difficult, turbulent times, during all kinds of circumstances in life. Srimad Bhagavatam teaches us the art of dying. So if you learn these three scriptures, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, and the Bhagavatam, you learn the art of leading, the art of living, and the art of dying. And once you know these three things, you practically don't need any other knowledge, isn't it? So I highly recommend all of y'all to spend time exploring these scriptures instead of wasting time with things that are not really of any consequence. Netflix and YouTube and Instagram Reels, these things don't really upgrade you. Spend time studying these scriptures. Spend time studying these most powerful epics that have timeless wisdom embedded in them, that have so much depth embedded in them. And these scriptures are the best self help books you can ever get in your life. Not only should you read them and study them, but you should also share the wisdom that you hear from these, read from these scriptures with others. In today's world, I'm seeing that most parents and grandparents have no idea what to tell their kids and their grandkids, completely lost and clueless. So I'm creating a whole huge host of books that is written in very simple words, that is written in language that is very accessible to a common man. And it is written in a format that is very easy to read. It feels light, it doesn't feel heavy, it doesn't feel very philosophical, but at the same time, it is written in the exact same style that I've been speaking to you all for the last 45 minutes or so. And each of the books that I've written has such stories that I just shared with all of you. I strongly believe that stories can shape people's lives. And I strongly believe that everything can be conveyed through stories. So if you love stories, you should explore these books, and these books will give you all so much in return. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions, comments, discussions, please? Yes.
My brother and I actually started reading the Bhagavad Gita, and we were questioning who is this Arjun, what makes him so special to have this association with Krishna. And so we got into the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, and we were able to have these back and forth conversations with these stories and understandings of these amazing characters. And so I just wanted to speak on the aspect of how, I mean, yeah, like you were saying, they're setting this ideal of what we can aspire to be, and we might be so far off from that, but what better association to have, what better role models to have than these individuals who have Krishna on their mind at all times, no matter what. So yeah, I just wanted to just thank you so much because those stories they mean so much to me, and it's a great reminder for me to jump back in. My brother to this day still is listening to both of those off and on. So yeah, just thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Anything else? Any other questions or comments? Yes.
So, Prabhu, you said you used the word timeless, right? So, what makes these stories timeless and even context sort of less, right? They apply across the world, across different ages. Why is that?
Because these stories are based on principles. They are not based on details. So basically, principles remain same no matter um, how many yugas change, how many centuries pass. The principles will always remain the same. So because these stories are based on principles, and which especially principles that are universal in nature, they are timeless. Thank you very much for being here this evening. Oh, here is a question. Okay.
From morning's class.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So I got your book and I read those passages that uh, the sutras that you discussed in the morning from the book, but your explanations in the class were more detailed.
Yeah.
So that was very. I felt that the coming straight from you and to hear was more relishable than. I mean, the book is also nice, but it was hearing
Yeah.
was so much sweeter.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what happens is in a book, there's always going to be a limitation of word count. How much you can write is always going to be limited, and especially because already it's so voluminous in with the word count that is there. So I always prefer to do courses based on my books where I can go deeper, basically. So so there will always be things that can be added to what is existing. Like even in my Ramayana series, I've written the all the 6 books, but actually these 6 books can be expanded so much more because there's so much more deeper insights into each of the stories. So yeah, I think they aid each other. So the book will give us one angle of looking at it. Lectures will give another angle. So that's thank you.
So, so from the Nam Ramayana, is it just those sutras that comprises the original text?
Correct. Yeah.
So, like, I was wondering, like, I mean, the rest of it, like, some of the sutras could be interpreted in various ways.
Correct. Yeah.
So these are, and the way you have interpreted and brought out how, like, for example, Lord protected the Yajna of Vishwamitra.
Yeah.
Um, so were there like commentaries on this
Yeah.
Nam Ramayana from where you got this, or these are your personal realizations? How did you expand to
So
describe?
I've been studying the Ramayana for quite some time now, almost like last 13 years. I've been studying Ramayana very deeply, and I've studied commentaries of many acharyas of the Ramayana, and so some of those commentaries of different acharyas also embedded into this. So I wrote the Ramayana series um, in a so the entire Ramayana series is written in a very practical manner. So that means the focus is on life lessons. The Ramayana series, the entire focus is on telling the story of Ramayana through life lessons. But there were many devotional commentaries, devotional aspects that I could not put in the main series because my target audience was an outside non-devotee audience who's not at all informed about spirituality. But what I did in the Nam Ramayana is all those commentaries which I could not add there, I put them here. So Nam Ramayana is a very devotional perspective towards the entire Ramayana. Basically, many people in fact feel that Ramayana is not a devotional book like Bhagavatam. It is not a bhakti literature. This Nama Ramayana will prove it wrong. Actually, Ramayana is a very heavily steep book in bhakti. It's just that we need a perspective of looking at it in that way. So, through the names of Ram, that's what I've been trying to do. Thank you. Yes. Take it good.
Oh, not me. I'm just fixing my ear.
No, 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 no. She next to you, next to you. Right.
I'm reflecting on what you just said, that these stories are based on principles. That's why they are timeless. In general, many cultures, in fact, every culture teaches principles by stories. And so, is it that the principles have been lost because these stories are not continued to be told as literature or stories to teach the principles specifically? Today, for example, most people don't know about their history or where another country is or why is this thing happening over there and not over here. So how do we how do we uh, how do we remedy that?
Which is why there has to be a repetitive alignment of principles and emphasis of principles. See what happens over a period of time. Only details remain, but essence is lost. So today we all have access to Ramayana Mahabharata. We all have access to these scriptures in terms of the storyline, but we have lost the perspective of why these stories are written. We've lost the essence of these stories, basically. So if you ask any child who has read the stories of Ramayana Mahabharata, they'll say, "No, I know the story of Ramayana." But somewhere, in emphasizing the story, we've forgotten the essence of why the story is narrated. Which is why the narrators are so important. Which is why storytellers are so important, because they set the tone, they set the mood, they set the context, and they set perspectives, basically. So unfortunately, we are living in a world which is very superficial. Because we are living in a very superficial world, even the storytelling is very superficial today.
Pardon, what was the word you're using? A very kind of
Superficial.
superficial.
Yeah, superficial world. So even the storytelling today is very superficial. It's just so external, basically. And therefore, it is important that all of us, when we tell stories, we also give perspectives. We also share principles. We also share deeper insights. Because those insights is what will transform people. The story per se will not. The story per se, obviously, they also will purify in whatever way they will. But the insights is what has the power to transform. So I strongly believe in sharing insights whenever I tell stories, because I feel that that is where shifting happens of mindsets, shifting of consciousness, and shifting of paradigms.
Yes, there seemed to be a blueprint with which we are embedded um, at the time of birth that each person has, that has all these like receptors waiting for the story to be told, bring them into awareness of the challenges, asking about why am I experiencing this or that. But if you, as you say, if those receptors are not um, activated, then you get lost in anger and resentment and so on. And this is happening to me. So this is where I think this kind of this kind of community and that focuses on the value of the spiritual life versus just the 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 life, the everyday life, where you focus on the material thing, and so I'm really interested in going back to what you said, because a lot of people are not even interested in hearing anything about spiritual life, and they're the ones that are suffering the most.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah, um, I think our role is to create interest. If we present spirituality in a way that is logical and very interesting, it can create interest in those even that are not so interested. That's the challenge, to create the interest.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Morning.
Yeah.
So the first line, Subha Brahma Bharat Rama, I didn't understand the meaning properly. What it is that for me?
Yeah.
Could you please elaborate?
Shuddha means pure. Brahma, it refers to the Supreme. Paratpara Ram refers to that Ram who is embodiment of all qualities. So that's the meaning of the word Shuddha Brahma Paratparam. So he's pure, he's supreme, and is an embodiment of all divine qualities. Okay, thank you. Anything else? Yes.
Just on the same line of thought, what was the specific phrase for, or the verse for, when Lord Ram created the arrows to protect the sages, like the
Yeah.
I'm forgetting the exact.
Kaushika Samarakshaka Ram.
And that was, you also talked about how Lord Ram can protect us from good thought, or sorry, bad thoughts, right?
Yeah, correct.
So Prabhu, just follow up with that. And you said in the morning that every actually sentence in that Nam Ramayana, 108 verses,
Yeah,
the whole Ramayana is there inside.
correct.
But because of time constraint, we were not able to discuss it in the morning. I mean, we were not able to explain, or each and every line says past tense.
Yes. I mean, it'll take me like at least 12 to 13 hours for me to complete Ramayana. We just had 45 minutes. So I just spoke 4 or 5 verses here. I'm going to do a course, as I said. I'm doing a 11 session course starting in Jan, where I'm going to do every Friday. I'm going to cover the entire Nam Ramayana over 11 weeks, basically. So it'll be online also. You can always join in. Yes.
Prabhuji, the exchange which you and she had, right? You guys talked about essence and details and and blueprint. So in that, so whatever happens to our lives with science and technology, all the gadgets and progress, so that would fall under details. Whereas the essence would be what life has always been for.
Yeah. See, the details will always vary.
Right.
Essence cannot vary.
So say 1,000 years from now, if technology advances a lot, the essence still would stay the same.
Yeah. See, it's like this. When there is a cyclone, everything is flying. What will you hold on to? Will you hold on to your iPhone? Will you hold on to your cars, Tesla cars? Will you hold on to your gadgets? What can you hold on to?
Your life.
You will hold on to something that is grounded, isn't it? Something that is not going to fly. So that's the point. So technology and the way the world is, everything will change. You hold on to some technology, it'll fly, it'll change. But the one thing that will never change is the fact that we are spirit soul and we are eternal servants of Krishna. And you hold on to that, then no matter what the external changes are, you will be grounded. You will be very steady. That's what I meant. Yes.
I like when you told the story of Yudhisthira in the tent, and then Krishna and Arjuna come to him, and he thought the only reason Arjuna is here to tell me that he killed this person, but he never did. So then he gets upset. You said it's expectations. So I found a lot. If I got upset about something in life or mad at some person or whatever, because I expected them to be nicer, or I expected them to bring this, or expected this or that. And after some time, I kind of realized, hold on, I said, they're not going to change. You're just expecting that they're going to act like this, or expecting that they're going to do this. So try to calm down. So I kind of figured that out after a while, but I like that. I resonated with that little story there.
Thank you.
This is why
Expectation.
relationships break down, because the wife
Absolutely.
expects the husband's gonna do this, or the husband expects the wife's gonna do this, and they don't do it. And
Yeah.
where,
When you have expectations and the expectations are not met, it leads to pain in the heart. And when you experience pain in the heart, you want to shift that pain. So you shift that pain by blaming the other person. And when you blame the other person, that person goes through pain. And that person finds some way to transfer the pain back to you. So this is the game, basically. Okay. Thank you very much. Very, very grateful and happy to be with all of you all. Hare Krishna.
So thank you, Subha Vilas Prabhu, for gracing our home. It is even more special because Subha Vilas Prabhu's parents' home and my parents' home is literally 5 minutes from each other. So that was such an awesome.
We are speaking about many, many common things in our childhood.
So it was a wonderful lecture, Prabhuji. I mean, for me personally, like some of the things I have struggled with, like, like how is this relevant with science and tech? I mean, that you answered it so beautifully. So thank you so much.
Thank
I think there are some copies of the books also, so if someone has not seen them in the morning, there are copies there which you can take.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right now we are going through a very difficult period in regard to the whole use of technology, specifically AI, the use of robotics, and there's a great fear about it being able to learn because of these extraordinary capacity it has to deal with knowledge or in data. But first, the knowledge has to be learned from human beings. So I am thinking that there's nobody that sat down and said, we need to set up some rules about how we're going to use this thing. And so it has just gone into the hands of anyone of with various mentalities. And the driving force now is I have to use it because if I don't use it and those people over there use it, I'm going to use it. I'm out of business. I can't compete. So it's even now on the computer, your cell phone. I went back to using WhatsApp after moving away from it for about a year and a half. And the first thing it's offering me is to use AI. But the thing that I've come to understand from the people that way back initiated AI is that they're not telling people that you are being cheated. You're being offered it to make more money, be excellent, or whatever it is you do. But you are being cheated because there is no royalty or payment given to the person who is initially giving their knowledge. their capacity of knowledge to the AI. And what they will do, this is the prediction. What will happen, because you're not being paid every time you're teaching a body of work to the AI people, to the robots, then they can actually become as good and supersede you at your own knowledge, and then you are left, they can continue on to produce based on using your own voice or using your way of behaving or whatever it is, if it's acting or writing or speaking, and then you, the person that is at using the AI to do these things, they become the person that becomes really wealthy at what you offer from your own abilities. Am I understanding that correct? And what then can we do about the whole question of the use of AI and robotics? Because there's also a fear that they could take over the entire world or whatever. But then these people that are thinking like that, I'm saying thank God for Krishna, because Krishna is in charge.
Yeah. My understanding is AI, as long as um, something that is mechanical is there, AI is good with it. But the moment it is about something very creative, AI fails there. If you have used any of these tools, you will realize that it's precise only to a certain point. Beyond a certain point, it lies a lot. I don't know if you all have noticed it. ChatGPT lies a lot. It makes up facts. It lies when it doesn't understand things, basically. And not just lies, it also is very limited in its vocabulary, in the way it makes certain words are used again and again and again. So I'm finding that human beings cannot be replaced. Human beings cannot be replaced. Machines cannot replace human beings because every day we get newer and newer ideas, and these ideas are fresh, they're new, and these are not ideas that come from some knowledge bank. These are ideas that come from the Paramatma. And fortunately, machines will never have access to Paramatma. So as long as humans only have access to Paramatma, I think humans cannot be replaced by machines. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.